And as you know, ITIL is the Information Technology Infrastructure Library. And the reason we call it Infrastructure Library is because ITIL consists of 5 core publications. These 5 core publications are about the 5 stages of service lifecycle. So every publication in the core publication in the ITIL addresses one of these stages of service lifecycle. So in general, what is an ITIL? Well, ITIL is a framework. It's about the best practices which you apply in IT service management. If you're wondering what is IT service management is, IT service management is, here I can say that it's a bridge between the service provider's deliverables and the customer's expectations. So the more you are in alignment with your customer's expectation as a service provider, the better you can, be valuable to your customer. You can be more useful or the beneficial to your customer. So in general, ITIL, as I said, it's the framework. It tells you about the best practices which you can apply in IT service management. And then a general, a very basic question: what is a service? We deal with a lot of services every day. Even in the non-IT environment, or if you look at the IT environment, for example, calling a cab, using a telephone service, using these subscribe TV channels, they're all services example. If we look into the IT, I can give you an example, which we will be coding in all our 5 stages as a internet service provider. You provide internet access to your customer. So that is an example of service. There are so many other examples, but the reason we will be taking this this example and throughout all the 5 stages, which we'll be mostly discussing in terms of examples. So the question is, what is a service? Service is simply means of delivering value to the customer by facilitating certain outcomes the customer wants to achieve, for example, and then without any ownership of risk or costs. So for example, if I'm providing these internet services to my customer, the customer is not responsible for any damages, any issues, any troubles, or any cost or the risk involved in my environment, in my infrastructure environment. The customer is only concerned with the outcome, and the service provider is responsible for these. So service is basically delivering value to the customer by facilitating certain outcomes which customer wants. For example, a customer wants a 10 Mbps connection, and so customer is not responsible for any server damages, any infrastructure failure at your end. That's the, we can consider this as a service. And what is a value? Value is always defined by the customer. The different customers have different expectation of value. The value is different for different customer. It depends on the customer's environment, depends on what type of business they are in. For example, for one customer, getting economical services, cheaper services, that's the value. For other customer, maybe getting a reliable internet access, that's the value, or a highly available internet access, that can also be a value to this customer. So it depends on customer and their environment and their requirements, what they exactly looking for. And then the question is, what is the process? There are around 24 processes we discuss in ITIL Foundation course. And these processes are divided among different stages of service lifecycle. Some processes are associated with a particular stage, and the others are, we'll be discussing the common ones. So the question is, what is exactly a process? It's basically a methodology, a set of activities designed to accomplish a specific objective. For example, incident management is a process, and we would like to deal with an incident. Risk management is a process. Availability management is a process. Similarly, um, service level management is a process. And in all these processes, we have defined objectives. We can measure the success of those processes. We can see what their input is, what their output is, and there are always stakeholders associated with these processes. So as I said, there are around 24 processes which we normally cover in the ITIL Foundation course. Then there's a term function. What is a function? There are 4 functions we discuss in the ITIL Foundation course, and all these functions we'll be discussing in the operations stage. So how it is different from a process. A function is basically a team or group of people, and the tools they use to carry out one or more activities. For example, service desk is a function. Application management is a function which deals with the application related. They are the experts in that. Or the IT operations management is a function. And you need sometimes these functions with the processes in order to get the desired output. So these are the basics we will be discussing, and I thought I can go through these. Now coming to our main topic, the 5 stages of service lifecycle. The 5 is, first of all, what I mean by service life cycle. Service life cycle means from service creation to service retirement. That's the service life cycle. And ITIL divides a service life cycle into 5 stages. And in this way, it becomes very easy for us to apply that framework and apply those best practices which are recommended by ITIL. So the 5 stages of service life cycle are service strategy, service design, service transition, service operations, and continual service improvement. These are the 5 stages, and in this order you can start. And as I said, we divide a service life cycle into these 5 stages or phases, and then we focus on individual stages or phases and then different phases have different expectations or different processes associated with that. So we go through this and we take care of this, and this way we apply the ITIL best practices in an ITSM or IT service management setup. So that actually makes it very simple and very and that's the reason the ITIL is very successful, because there are also other frameworks, but the ITIL is the most common and widely accepted framework, and it's so simple. And that you divide, there are, as I said, 24 processes. Some processes are associated with service strategy, some with the second stage, which is service design. And in this way, all stages, all the processes are associated with one of those stages of service life cycle. And these processes help us to achieve a certain output, and we can measure the success of those processes. So it makes it very simple, very straightforward. And as I said, it doesn't matter whether you're at the ITIL foundation level or at the ITIL intermediate or expert level. You're going to discuss these 5 stages all the time. It's just like, if I give you an example, in the networking, there is a OSI protocol stack, which it doesn't matter you starting your career or you at the expert level, you always refer to that. This is a very similar situation. We always refer to these 5 stages and segregate